Well, hey there, you diecast fanatics, and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to do part two of my vintage 1970s Matchboxes. And actually, I think one of them may even be from the 60s because it's a late 60s casting. But pretty much every casting up here will be from the 1970s. And, I just have such fond memories of growing up as a Gen X kid in the 70s and having a lot of Matchbox cars. And some of these I had as a kid, some I didn't. But it's kind of nice to have them collected as an adult and have them on my display and everything and just really enjoying it and everything. So let's get right into it. Let's start off with what we got spinning on the turntable. I have two of these actually. One in the nice chocolate brown up there and the other silver one. We got Porsche 911 Turbo. This is an issue from 1978. I got this very version here just as I was entering first grade at St. Mary's Catholic School in Cheyenne, Wyoming. Man, that seems like just an eternity ago. Man. But I remember I think it was my dad who got this for me at, we had a store up there called Grand Central. That's where we got a lot of our diecast cars from because it was only minutes away from the rented house we were renting out there until we got our other house built, which was quite interestingly enough out on the prairie. So Porsche 911, what a awesome performer these cars were. They were kind of like the standard for performance back in those days. One thing Matchbox did with their version, they gave it this very generic, oddball four-spoke steering wheel that was not correct for this car. But everything else is very well done. The seats were shaped like that. I really like this shade of brown. It's just something so rich about it. Nice metallic in it. Trailer hitch is once again kind of laughable. Why you would ever try to attempt to pull a trailer with a Porsche is beyond me. They had a lot of versions of this car. I remember there being a green one. There was, like I said, I got that silver one right there. There was lots of versions. I can't even remember all the versions, but I think the two I have, frankly, are the best ones. And of course, Matchbox and their great doors they have. This one had a black painted base. A little bit hard to read, though, even with the light. But it does say 1978 on there for the issue. Just an overall really nice rendition of a legendary Porsche. There's the silver version right here. This came later. Not sure what year this came out. I know the brown one was definitely the original. This came out probably around, I don't know, maybe 1980 or so. They came out with the silver one. Just as nicely done, same details, just silver with a red interior, which is a nice color combination. Got a nice little sunroof on there. Classic whale tail, they used to call that. Yeah, this one's got a really sticky door. I need to remember to take some lube to that or something. That's the first time I've encountered a Matchbox that had a door that was a little funky like that. Usually they're very smooth and very slick. There we go. Two versions of a Porsche 911. Let's take a look at this little sweetheart. It's another one I had from early childhood. Oh man, beautiful. 1972 AMC Javelin. You remember, AMC made two versions of this car. There was the Javelin AMX, which was a two-seater, and then the regular Javelin SST, which would have been this one here. That was basically a five-seat car. And I'll even go so far as to say allegedly five-seat because the back seat ain't very big in that. The funniest thing, when I was a kid, I saw the back end of this car, and it reminded me a lot of a 1971 Ford LTD because it looked like there was three tail lamps. But it's definitely not no LTD, that's for sure. This came in a lot of versions, too. There's a blue version that's very rare. Not Bulgarian issue, but just a very rare U.S. issue that you don't see too often. And then there's, I call it an ugly race version. It's got a big dopey bumper on it that this looks terrible. This, I think, is just, this one and the blue one, I think, are the best versions. Nice little, they had their version of a ducktail spoiler. This one's got really nice doors. You can tell that the dashboard is incorporated with the hood scoop. How they put that together. It's really nice. Yeah, it's got an issue date of 1972 on there. Yeah, the Lesney years for Matchboxes, they just were great years for these cars. Just superb quality, nice colorful colors. All right, how many of you Gen Xers remember seeing these funny looking little cars running around back in the 70s? So in its home market of France, it's called the Renault 5. Here in America, they decided to market it as the LeCar, thinking it might be a little more sellable that way. And these cars had an interesting feature. It's not depicted on this model because it would be, almost impossible to do on a die-cast car. But the weird feature that these cars had was they had a slightly longer wheelbase on one side versus the other. And I can't remember which side had the longer side, but it was supposedly supposed to do something with handling because, believe it or not, they used to race these things in rallies. They'd hop up the engine and they used to race these little silly cars. We had them here in the States and we thought they were just junk. I remember they came in a lot of bright, high impact colors like this bright yellow you see here. I remember seeing like lime green, bright blue, refrigerator white, orange. I remember seeing these things in a lot of different, just really bright, eyeball searing, high impact colors. Like the little opening hatch on the back. And, Matchbox had a habit of putting trailer hitches on cars that I think were just so laughable to do. But hey, it made it fun. The earlier versions, I think the U.S. versions had, if I remember correctly, U.S. versions had a round headlight. The Euro version had the square kind of composite headlamp. Yeah. The Renault 5TL. This issue's from 1979, looks like. So that was a fun little car, the LeCar. I think they had another version of this, but I can't remember it. I haven't seen it for a long time. Let's take a look at a really early Lesney Superfast. This is a 1968. I believe they would have called this the Park Lane Commuter wagon. And you see how it's got the earlier style wheels on the really early Superfast wheels. And I'll show you the chassis, the script on there. It's very different. In an earlier video, I mentioned to you that Matchbox seemed to have kind of an affinity for Mercury station wagons because they made 3 of them over different generations. I showed you the Cougar Villager in the prior video, and in an upcoming video, I'll show you the Sable wagon I've got. But this came in a couple different versions too. There was also a Super Kings version that came in like a green. This also came in green, but with the older wheels. But this is the issue that I like the best because it's got the newer, the very first version of the Superfast wheels. You'll notice, you see it says, made in England by Lesney. See, the script is a little different on the older ones. It just says Mercury. I think that's kind of laughable. And then right here, it says Superfast. That's the original early Superfast script. And it's just an overall really nicely done model. You got the Park Lane Commuter script right there. Your ribs for your luggage carrier, if you had one. And then the cute feature, of course, is the 2 little doggies in the back, hanging their head out the open rear window. Really nice job with the tail lamps. And then right here in the corner of the tailgate, you see it's got the little Mercury script. And this model, if it's original in a blister pack or even one of those little cardboard boxes, which is even more desirable, they go for big bucks. I got this one loose. This was such a well-preserved model. I mean, you can tell by how shiny the chassis and the nose is. I mean, to find them in that kind of condition loose is really something. They took good care of this. And that's what I do. I like to take them out of the blister pack and just enjoy them. and I just preserve them. I keep them in good condition. I don't handle them too much. I just put them on display. You know, they collect a little dust. You just dust them off. Let's take a look at another interesting car. Now, this is a car that was only offered in the European market, but mostly in the UK. This is called a Ford Cortina. If I had to give you what a US equivalent to this would be, as far as like interior space, trunk volume, stuff like that, I have to say our US Granada is probably the closest to it as far as size, interior volume, trunk space, things like that. Although I have to be honest with you, I think the Cortina was overall a better engineered car than the Granada was. You'll see it's got the, depicted with right-hand drive. It's got that same silly-looking generic four-spoke wheel that the Porsche had I just showed you. This came in several versions as well. I think the ruby red is probably the best version. It's got the Cortina script on the back there. And then, of course, these would have had composite lamps. I remember watching an earlier video back before Rowan Atkinson became known as Mr. Bean. He was part of a comedy troupe called Not the 9 O'Clock News. And he did this very humorous song called I Like Trucking. And he's driving around in a big, giant Leyland semi-truck with his two counterparts, singing this very hilarious song. You can look it up on YouTube and check it out. It's hysterical. But he legitimately actually was driving that truck in that video. And I remember one of the cars that tries to pass him is a station wagon version of this Cortina in that video. It's very funny. But yeah, this is one of those very popular models that Matchbox did. All right, let's take a look at this. Oh, I love this car. 1972 Maserati Bora. They used to call this car the gentleman's exotic, and the reason why is because a lot of exotic cars, you remember like the Lamborghini, they had those scissor doors, and they sat so low that was, if your lady was wearing a nice dress and she was trying to get into that Lamborghini, it was a little hard for her to do so and not cause a scandal, if you know what I mean. So with this car, it's low slung, it's wedge shaped, but it's not so low and has regular doors as opposed to scissor doors that your lady can very discreetly slide behind the door into the seat and not have a scandalous incident with her dress. And that's why they used to call this the gentleman's exotic. This is a lovely version by Matchbox. Earlier casting with the earlier style wheels, you can see. This has got what became known as the later Superfast logo. It's got the green painted base, which is kind of a rare treat. Lovely magenta, very similar to that Ford Capri I showed you. This one's got a little sticker on it. This has one defect. This was a loose car that I bought, very well preserved. There's unfortunately a little minor crack in the rear window. That's the only defect. Not sure how it happened, but there's no paint damage. It's got just virtually perfect paint. I always thought the Bora was a really good looking car. It's not depicted on this version, of course, but these cars originally, when they were in the real version, they had a stainless steel roof cap in the front there. They ran from the pillars onto the top of the roof. And they had these beautiful, what were called Campagnolo wheels, which were gorgeous. Yeah, I like the Maserati Bora. It's actually one of my, I think it's actually my favorite exotic. I like these much more than I do, a Lamborghini Countach or a Ferrari 308 or, Testarossa, Berlinetta Boxer, all those. I think these are just really, really nice. And I got one more I'll show you. This is about a 1977 Corvette or so. It could be a 76 or a 75. They're about the same. This has been restored by me. This car used to be, I can't remember if this was the one that was black, because I have two of them that I've restored. One I painted green, and it used to be, I think, black, and then one of them used to be a different shade of red. But these two Corvettes were loose, and they came to me with just terrible paint. The paint was rough, bubbled, in some cases just lifting, but the rest of the car was perfectly fine. the glass interior, the wheels, everything was in good shape. So I took them apart, stripped all the paint off, and then repainted. So this one I did as a red on red. It didn't turn out as shiny as I'd like it to. It has been clear coated. I did clear coat this. But it was nice to rescue it instead of letting it be all crummy. It's an issue from 1979 Chevrolet Corvette, which is funny because by 79 the Corvette had that kind of bubble hatch window. This is the old style, what the call that the flying buttress roof style. Yeah. And you know what? For kicks and giggles, I didn't bring it up here because I was actually going to show it in another video. Let me get the green one. I'll show it to you. You've seen it briefly before. I figure since we're talking about these restored Corvettes, might as well show you the green version too. So here that is. It had the same problem. Very poor, bad paint. So I did the same thing. Stripped it. Repainted it. This is like a deep jewel green. Like a, I don't know, like an emerald kind of, I guess you'd call that. That one I kept the interior, the original ivory color. I thought that really contrasted nicely with the green. You know, the green one turned out even better. This has a much nicer shine and gloss to it. I really like the way this one turned out. So yeah, I do this every once in a while. You know, rescue Matchbox cars, Hot Wheels cars, anything that's... oh, by the way, that's not a paint bubble. That's actually a bubble in the metal. I noticed that after I stripped the paint off. But let me tell you something. This whole car looked terrible. I mean, you should have seen it. It was just, the paint was just atrocious. So it's nice to rescue it, make it look good again. I think it came out actually pretty darn good. So there we go, diecast fans. That was part 2 of the vintage Matchboxes. Hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to have part 3 coming up at some point for you. In the meantime, enjoy yourselves, and I'll see you in the next video.